Hey guys, so today we're working on a 2011 Ford Explorer. This is what we're going after. It's a variable valve timing solenoid. It's hidden down here underneath the valve cover. This is going to throw some different codes, maybe crankshaft codes, camshaft codes. These things get clogged up. I'll show you a video about that, a shorter video on how to take these apart, possibly clean them if you want to. But in this case, I'm just going to replace it. But hey, if this video helps you along the way, hit that subscribe or like button. Really appreciate it. So let's get started. So I've had a couple people along the way ask me, why am I not using power tools? There are scenarios when I won't use power tools because I don't want to damage threads or anything like that and create more work for myself. In this case, I'll use this when I feel like it. But first thing I'm going to do is disconnect the battery cable negative using a 10 mil. See what this is. We're going to use an 8mm. Pop off this worm clamp here. Probably could do this job without taking these off, but it just makes it that much easier. So we're just going to get them out of the way. Here, I'm just going to pop off the bottom clips. You probably can't see them, but trust me, they're there. This has got a little red clip in the back. And get my pick. Could use a flat blade if I felt like it. And then once you release that, this should just pop out. I say should. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. In this case, it did. So hopefully on camera you can see that. But it's this red clip right here. So once we've done that, we can remove this. You've got a harness here. This just unplugs. You'll see I'm just going to pry this up. Again, probably could do it without doing that, but oh yeah, this thing's pissing some oil in there. Yeah, so we got oil all over the air cleaner. Interesting. And I just replaced this. So I'm hoping this job is going to rectify that situation, but we'll see what happens. So here, just gonna pull off my filler cap. I've got these little clips in the back that I put in here. I'm just gonna release these. I'll replace that after. We'll pull this cover off. At this point, we've got a hose here that we're going to release a clamp here. And then this should just back off. This engine's still a little bit warm, so I'm guessing that's why I'm having a little bit of trouble. Usually that just pops right off for us. So I already loosened this up. Carefully take that off. We're going to remove this hose here. And now we're getting closer to where we need to be. So I've seen a lot of guys do it differently. This is going to be my way. So I'm going to pull out my dipstick. I want to get this out of the way so I don't damage it. So we've got this hose here. It releases the same way. You're just going to pull back on this plastic tab. See if I can see it. Oh, there it is. Once I release that, and this will just pop off. And then we're good. So we're going to have to remove all of our ignition harnesses. These are the valves we're going after. We may have to remove the harness here for the fuel injectors, and we may have to remove a couple ground connections so that we can actually get this valve cover off. And then there's a connector here as well. So this one is missing this red clamp, but these red clamps you're just going to push up. Sometimes you can do it with a finger, like I just did. And then once you do that, you just pull back and these just release. For those of you who have done this before or haven't, you can speed through the film if you like. For those of you who haven't, you can keep watching. So in this scenario, I'm going to try and release this. So these I've already kind of taken out before. Other than that, I'd probably use a manual ratchet just in case, because I really don't want to damage the threads in the valve cover. And then these we can just carefully remove them. Yeah, these are a little warm, so I want to be careful. Make sure my boot is still here. All right, so the next step, I'm just going to compress these harnesses so we can release the fuel injectors or the fuel injector connector. So these will all pop off. So this gives us a little bit more access. So now what I have to do is kind of go through and just pry out all these clips that they have for these harnesses. So the other thing we're going to do is grab these connections here. These I haven't dealt with before, so we got to see how these come out. It looks like they just have a clip on the top that we're just going to release upwards. At least that's my plan. Let's see if they just compress. All right, give me a sec. So these do, I got one to pop up. We're going to do the next one here. There she goes. And then once you push them up, they just compress. So you can see this purple right here. Purple right there. So now we get a little bit more room. And then it looks like, yeah, I can't really tell if that's part of it down there. Oh yeah, it's just crimped in there. So you got a little clamp in here holding this in. So what I'm going to choose to do is pop off the ground stud here, ground stud in the back, and we'll move this whole harness to the front. Give me 1 second. Okay, there's two 8mm. One's up here, and this one looks pretty rusted out. All right, so we'll deal with that in a minute. I'm going manual. One reason I can't get my ratchet in there. I'll clean that ground stud after because it's pretty cheesy. So let's see if we can pop this one off. So I'm going to grab this bracket with a pair of needle nose and loosen this up, and there she goes. So I thought I hit record on the video and I didn't, but so where's this clamp? There's another post clamp over here for the harness that I had to release. And then I've already loosened up the 10mm bolts that are here. And then next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen up the nuts that are on studs that are in, this retaining bolt. So that stays with the valve cover. So when I get all these out, I'll remove these. And then, it looks like at this point, we're going to start working the valve cover off, which is going to be an interesting challenge. So we'll see how that goes. All right, so let's see how well these studs come off. Okay, so what I did do is I vacuumed out all the debris here because I don't want that falling inside, where our camshaft is and getting debris. So the next thing I'm going to do is, you can use a couple different tools for this, but this is going to be the toughest part, I think. Getting this underneath the valve cover enough so we don't damage the plastic, but we're able to push this or pull it back away from the top of the engine. It looks like this one's already moving, which is a pretty good thing. We're going to find out. But again, I want to be really careful. I love the fact that it's moving, because these can be a challenge. So let me get a smaller tool. All right, I grabbed a couple of tools. So I've got this. You can use anything, but you just want to be slow and methodical about this. So I'm going to get this up underneath here, try and pry this up. Yeah. Now I got to try and get a tool for the bottom. Be right back. All right, so I was able to just keep working, and I got it loose. I'm making sure all my studs are out of the threaded holes, and then I'm just gonna kind of work this. There's still some sealant keeping it in here, but hole. Yeah. So what I'm wondering is if I still got some studs screwed in there. There we go. All right, so let's be careful. We don't want to drop any more dust in here than we need to. Feels like I got a clamp or something, and I do. So that's what's keeping. I got a clamp buried down in here. Let's get this release off of here. Here we go. Now it should come out. Again, I want to be really careful. Looks like I got one over here. Yeah. Okay, so there's another one down here that I didn't get. Mainly because I wasn't sure. Didn't want to break it. So we're just going to rotate and twist, and now this should come out. Let's get a compressor hose here. Get it by that stud. And there we go. All right, we're going remote for a second. So here's what we're after. Our variable valve timing solenoid. It's tough for me to say. So the white one is your intake. It's always the closest to the intake. And then your exhaust is the closest to the exhaust, which is down there. So interesting. I'm getting a code for a camshaft sensor, but check this out if you can see it. There's some kind of metal debris that's collecting on the magnet in there. So we're going to take those out and clean them. I'm seeing the same thing down here. We're going to take those out and clean them and see if that helps with our performance too. But again, what we're here for is these. So let me go grab them. We'll change them out. All right, so I mentioned that there are two different types of solenoids: intake, exhaust. This is my intake. That's part number. This is my exhaust. That's part number. We're going to do these one at a time so I don't screw it up. Okay, so I'm using my 8mm. I'm going manual this time. Wow. I'm glad I did, just to make sure. I want to be really careful that I don't drop this inside. So one thing I like to do, be right back, I'm grabbing a magnet. Got my magnet, just in case. And as another precaution, I'll just throw a paper towel down here, just in case. We'll take out our solenoid. Oh, okay. So, this is what you don't want to see. Wow, that's just nasty. That's what you don't. So this is what you do want to see with the screen. That's what you don't want to see. Wow. All right, so before I put the new one in, I think I'm just going to clean out the bore a little bit, just in case there's anything still left in there. Wow, that's insane. She looks pretty clean. So this one's ready. Nice and shiny new. Slide that one in there. Get our bolt. Just thread it in there. Now these, depending on the website you look at, you're either going to see it in inch pounds or you're going to see it in foot pounds. If you have a torque wrench that does 8.3 foot pounds, that's what they get torqued to. If you have an inch pound gauge, it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 84, 85, maybe even higher, maybe 90. I'll double check that. But that's what I'm looking at. So let me double check that. We'll come back. Okay, so just confirmed. 8.3 foot pounds, 99.6 inch pounds. So we're just going to Give this a kiss. Here we go. Okay. Going to do the same thing on the other side. All right, let's go after the exhaust. Keep it. See what we get here. Yep, just as bad. Well, can't say just as bad, but pretty darn close. Got a lot of metal in there. So we'll replace that one too. Be right back. All right, I cleaned out the bore like we did on the other one. I'm just gonna slide this one in, same thing. I'm gonna bring this in, we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna torque it 99 inch-pounds or 8.3 foot-pounds. Okay, so while I'm here, I'm going after the cam sensor. So I'm going to pull this harness off just by compressing this connector, hopefully. At least that's my plan. Kind of tough to get in here. There she goes. Yes, these are on there a little tight. Okay, so I get it off. This is an 8mm. See if we can get my ratchet in here. Or my wrench, I should say. So, yeah. All right. All right. So I got one of these finger tools. I don't even know what they call these things, but I'm gonna get this out as far as I possibly can. Then I'm gonna try and do it by hand. I don't want to drop this bolt either. So she's almost out. Perfect. All right, so this is the tool I used. See if we can get that cam sensor out. Yeah, she's in there. I'll just wiggle her a little bit. See, there she goes. All right, so that came out. Oh God, yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of metal on there. See if we can get that in focus for you. There's a lot of metal on there. So we gotta clean that off. I suspect this is one of the reasons we're getting a code. So I'll be right back and clean this off. All right, so before I put this one in, I'm gonna see if I can pop out the one on the intake side. We'll do the same thing. This one probably gonna be tougher with the harness, but we're gonna find out. There he is, finger. Hurt. Yeah, finger. There she goes. She's gummed up too. So this one, I don't. Oh, actually, I can leave it on the harness. Oh my good God. I don't know if you guys can see that down there, but this one's just as bad. So clean this one up and then we'll throw it back in. Okay, we cleaned them up. You can see they look good now. The other one looks just the same. Trust me on that one. So let's see if we can get the back one in first. Let's lift this hose up. Get this in. All right, Ken. So then, get this. Twist this one again. One bit. Okay, then just gonna. Okay. I want to torque it too hard. So I'm gonna want to probably get them at these. Okay, I'm not gonna go crazy. I'm gonna replug my harness back in. There she goes. Okay. So before I put the valve cover back in, there's two places I gotta throw some sealant, gasket sealant. So there's gonna be one here. There's going to be one down here as well. You can see where the crack is. Other than that, it's an O-ring on the valve cover. I've already cleaned it up. Obviously, or I shouldn't say obviously, but I cleaned up all the surfaces here with some brake clean, razor blade, cleaned it up as much as I could. So let me get that gasket sealer on there, and then we'll throw the valve cover on. Okay, so I threw my sealant on. Let's get it in there a little bit better. Try to get this underneath the harness the best we can. Careful. Everything's over. Grab my ratchet and tighten some things down. All right, so nothing down. All right, so when we torque these down, there's obviously a sequence. Depending on your torque wrench, it's either 7.3 foot-pounds or 88 inch-pounds, okay? So the order we're gonna do, and I've already snugged these down, and I'm just gonna torque them just to confirm it. This is number 1. This is number 2, down in the bottom corner. And number 3 is kind of hidden way over here, next to your air conditioning hose. Okay. I don't want to drop my socket because that makes this a longer day. 4 is up here in the corner. And then 5 is here. This one I didn't snug all the way down yet, so sorry about that. That's 5. 6 is my center. 7's right next to it, underneath the oil filler. Yeah. We'll just do it this way. I think it's easier. There we go. And we've got 8. We've got 9. And then 10 right above it. Last but not least is 11 over here on the side. Okay, that does it for torque. Okay, so I cleaned up my ground studs. Getting ready to throw the harness back in now. So I'm gonna make my connections. I'm gonna make here. I'm gonna go. Yep, I'll do that. Just kind of slide them in. Slide them in. Slide them in. Won't put those in just yet. Semi-attach my ground stud up here. I don't know if you can see it back there, but we're up here on the ground stud. Spring. Make sure we get this in where it locks in. We'll lock this one in. We'll lock this one in. And I can bring, there we go. Bring our connectors down. Bring that down. Bring that down. Lock my ground stud in. Good, good, and good. Good. This one. All right, so I got all my harnesses. I got my ground studs. That one right there. Got all my solenoids, studs, fuel injectors, ignition, bolts, nuts, refitted my harness, dipstick. I'm going to plug in my map sensor in a second, and then we'll connect some of this stuff. Before we do, so this is that connection I was telling you about. It's this gray connection here. This is going to slide over, then it locks on. To release it, you just push it. You push it back this way and then it pops off. So it's locked. So let's put the rest back on. So we're pretty much done here. I'm going to shoot a video showing you how to take these apart, clean them out, because you could probably reuse this. But hey, if this video helped you, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button. Really appreciate it. I'm going to fire this bad boy up and we'll see what happens. Well, we'll see what happens when, she gets used to her drive cycle and all the fuel trims readjust. Because of that clogged valve and those camshaft sensors. So, hey, we'll see you.